Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be looking at a trailer that I came across earlier today, and that is for the Russian science fiction horror film Sputnik. Now, I haven't seen actually a really good Russian science fiction movie in a long time, so I'm kind of excited for this. It actually looks really good from the trailer, but I'll go through that. So let's dive into it. So basically, when the trailer starts off, you're not really sure of the time period at first. It does explain later on in the trailer that it's basically kind of like early space race era, Soviet Union, Russia. So, it's kind of so probably like late 50s, early 60s, something along those lines. And basically what's happened is we start off the trailer and we see that there's a small space vehicle, a small like single man pod that is just floating in space, and then we go inside of it. We see a few astronauts, and I think there's two astronauts and there are two cosmonauts. And then we start going into some of the narrations and stuff like that. Now, the movie, I will say this: the movie is entirely in Russian. It is all the languages and subtitles. So if that's a turn off for you, I mean that's you're probably not going to get past it with this film. I don't think they'll be having an English dub. But so just to explain that first off. But after we get into the narration, then we start going into these scenes where we start seeing stuff happening back on Earth. And this trailer does sort of commit the sin of the cardinal sin of trailers of giving away the story in the trailer to an extent, but it doesn't give away the crescendo, which I like. It doesn't give away the end, and then any kind of stuff involving that. It just kind of gives you a basic idea of what the driving force in this story is, which is one of these Russian cosmonauts has come back to space, and he has some kind of an alien life form that is inside of his body. It is they refer to it in the trailer literally as a parasite. And this woman gets brought in, who's is supposed to be kind of our main character. Again, kind of like maybe what they did with the Thing remake with Mary Elizabeth Winstead and stuff like that. They have like a female as the main character. Again, maybe kind of also playing on the final girl trope from the slasher films, or like Ellen Ripley from Alien and stuff like that too. But this woman comes in, and basically her job is to separate this alien life form from this guy's body. And apparently, it only comes out when he's asleep or when he's unconscious. Because the Russians are actually able to draw it out and show it to her. And we don't really see a very good glimpse of it until the very, very end of the trailer. But after we get past those scenes where she kind of figures out, where she sees the thing and she's aware of it, and again, they don't really show the thing. Like I said, they don't show it a whole lot in the trailer, which is another good thing, because you don't want to give away your creature in the trailer. And presumably, something goes horribly, horribly wrong and this thing escapes. Because they do show a scene where it's somebody in what looks like some kind of an environmental suit walking into the chamber where the alien life form is, and where the guy is now collapsed. Unless that's the main female character in there as well. You also have your foreboding general character who knows more information but doesn't say it. That's kind of a cliche thing, but I get why they have it. It's probably going to be a good plot device for paranoia and stuff like that later on in the film. And the tone of it too, the tone of it I like, because the tone of it is they're taking it very, very seriously. They're trying to act, tonally with the time period, which I like. That very rigid, Soviet, communist Russia type of armed forces. Very. I shouldn't say that because a lot of armed forces are like that, but they're reenacting very well the idea of what you would think of when you would see, Soviets conversing and talking with one another. And it's very, very proper, very stern. So, moving through some of those things, because she has some conversations with him as well. He's the one that actually mentions, the parasite line and separating the cosmonaut from everything else. She also mentions that this cosmonaut is a national hero. So this must have been something that happened that they found out about after he became somewhat famous. But again, that's not really technically that much of an issue in Soviet Russia, because they could just, kill you and nobody would ask any questions, because if they asked any questions, they would also probably be murdered. So that kind of a plot point, I think, is a little bit of a moot thing. But, moving on from that, she has kind of issues with it, because the idea is they want to separate the thing from him and have both of them survive, or at least have him survive. then they would dissect the alien and figure out about it if it did happen to die during the transfer. But that seems to be the plot MacGuffin is they don't know how to separate this thing from his body without killing him. And they're going to go through the whole thing. It's kind of like Kane from Alien to an extent, where the face hugger is stuck on him in the scene. And they don't really know how to remove it, and if they try to remove it, it could kill him. Very, very similar situations, although that's kind of a subplot in Alien, which is expanded to a feature length in this film. Now, it is important to note that this appears to be some kind of a wintry research base where most of this takes place. Again, kind of, I guess, playing on the Thing. Or maybe I'm just saying wintry because that's what I kind of consider this a little bit like is the Thing, because the Thing, it does live inside this guy's body, but it's different in the fact that it's not an organism that can, or presumably not an organism that can reproduce itself. It's just a parasitic organism that latches on to another living organism to use it for life. But moving past that, we get into kind of they do like the as you get towards the peak of the trailer, they have a bunch of these scenes where it shows about action, people running around. Every once in a while, you get a little glimpse of the alien until the very very end of the trailer, where they do this kind of a shadowy wide shot of the front of the research base and what presumably is the final form or one of the forms of the alien shows up, and it's just this big kind of very lanky thing with like claws and stuff on its hand, but the CGI for it does not look bad. And that's another thing I have to say about this. I don't know how much money was put into this film. Apparently, it's actually been doing fairly well on the indie film circuit for festivals and stuff. And so I think that it's getting some buzz there, which is probably why IFC picked it up, because they're the International Film Channel, because they're the ones who are also, their production studio is helping along with this and funding it. So I assume they had some kind of a prototype ready, and then to soup up the crescendo of the film, and at the end, the rise in action, the studio money came in to do the CGI and stuff like that, because it is CGI, but it looks really good from the trailer, even the small glimpses that we get. Now, seeing those things move around on screen is going to probably be a different story. The trailer is definitely probably polished, or some of the best work that they have. So I'd be curious at firsthand to see, if the CGI holds up in a long form where you have it for an extension of a scene instead of just these little glimpses, or that might just be it, to be honest. But I want to see how it would hold up if those other scenes do exist, where it's a longer scene with a lot more CGI involved. And other than that, I mean, like I said, the tone is very dark. I like the tone. I like the way the characters interact with one another in the trailer, at least. The voiceover does a fairly good job at kind of explaining certain things. And like I said, it does give away a good amount of the plot. It gives away kind of the main driving force of the plot, and kind of the problem and basically what happens. But they don't give away the kills. And that's one of the other things is a lot of people are saying about this in the critic section. At the end of it, they have a few little quotes, and it just is gory. And as soon as it said that, I was hooked, because it's a Russian science fiction film with a plethora of gore. I have to watch it. But the fact that they do have the gore in it probably means that they have fairly good effects. Now, the other thing is I want to see more what their practical effects look like, because if you're going to have a lot of gore in it, I'm assuming a lot of that is going to be practical, or at least a decent amount of it is going to be practical. With maybe some CGI mixed in there if they had, anything left over from the original visuals budget for the alien and stuff. But I'd be curious to know what that looks like. But, other than that, there's really not too much else I can say. I mean, as, negatives and stuff like that, like I said, it has the subtitles, so if you're not into that, then, you're probably not going to like the movie, regardless of the content. But other than that, I can't really think of too much to knock this for, because it really does look like an interesting period-based horror film from Russia, and I haven't seen one of those in a long time. But as usual, I'm going to link the trailer below, so if you guys want to go over and watch that, you can. And put in the comments below if you've seen the movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you are planning on seeing it because the trailer looks kind of interesting, if you're interested in Russian horror or Russian science fiction horror, or any other movies you like in that kind of vein, like I said, put your thoughts below. I like to read them, and make sure to hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?